All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tuesday, April the 6th, State Government Committee. We'll turn our attention now to our clerk, Tara Robbins. Tara, if you would, please take the roll.
Representatives Alexander, Beck, Bricken, Carr, Carringer, Chisholm, Cooper, Halford, Helton, Holsclaw, Holsey, Jernigan, Johnson, Littleton, Marsh, Moon, Powell, Wendell, Vice Chairman Eldridge, Chairman Kiesling.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
All right, we have a quorum. That means we can begin. All right. Now, before we get into some other things, I want to let's turn to our, please, members. Go ahead and turn to our calendar, if you would. And I'm going to turn to our analyst. We're going to begin, I think, at item number 6. That's correct. Item number 6. And if there's no objections, that's going to be House Bill 700. That will be taken off notice. No objections. Moving on. Number 12, he tells me. And that is, for the record, that will be House Bill 869 by Chairman Zachary. It's going to be rolled. He has requested a roll to the final calendar. If there's no objections, we will comply with that request. 15. Chairman Boyd has requested a 1 week roll. No objections. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that bill number. That's HB 509. No objections. We will comply with that. And that's it, members. Okay. For the record. All right. We want to welcome everyone. Members, we want to welcome you. Thanks for joining us, returning to your seats today. We want to welcome also those that are attending here in person, and for the millions probably who may be viewing in Chairman Moon out there, we want to welcome them as well. So we'll begin. Are there any announcements or personal orders? Yes, there is. Speaker Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a guest with me today, Mr. Cameron Cunningham, who is a senior at the Stewart County High School.
Wonderful.
Let's give him a warm welcome.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Speaker. And Chairman Helton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to recognize Hamilton County Juvenile Court Clerk, Mr. Gary Baylor. He's with us today.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Hilton. Further personal orders or announcements? Okay, I see none. We will. I want to begin by turning my attention, as well as yours, over to Chairman Rick Eldridge. Rick Eldridge, we want to say thank you for the great job you did last week in chairing this committee. Thank you. Let's give him a warm welcome. Thank you very much, Chairman Eldridge, for the great job you did, sir. And let us not forget this day in history. Let's turn our attention to 1896. That was the day today in 1896 that the first modern Summer Olympics were held in Athens, Greece. America came out winning the most gold medals with 11. In 1909, this day in history, it was the American sailors, Robert Peary, I think that's the way he pronounced his last name, along with Matthew Henson, who became the first people to reach the North Pole. And then finally in 1980, it was the day that they released the folks at Post-it notes. was released on this day in history. So, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's now turn our attention to item number 1, House Bill 456. Representative Thompson, you're recognized, sir. We have a motion and a second. Representative Thompson, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. HB 456 regards 457B plans. They are an employee-sponsored, tax-favored retirement savings account, very similar to a 401k plan, but are only offered by local or rather public employers. Now, state law allows state and local governments to auto-enroll employees in 457B plans if their employer uses the state-sponsored plan. But when a local government uses a private 457B plan, current law does not allow those local governments to auto-enroll their employees. In several large counties, including the one which I live in, uses private plans. Now, what this bill will do, if enacted, all local governments employing 1,000 or more employees will have the option to auto-enroll new employees in 457B plans. And of course, employees can always opt out if they choose to do so. If they're already in it, they can always get out. But this helps to encourage responsible and more retirement planning for our public employees. And it has been supported by the Tennessee County Service Association and has come out with a favorable recommendation from Pensions and Insurance. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. All right. You have, members, you've heard an explanation of the bill. We do have a motion and a second. Are there any questions to the bill sponsor? We do. Yes. Chairman Bricken, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a quick question. Currently, with that $1,000 employee minimum, how many counties, municipalities would this cover?
You know, I'm not totally sure. Somewhere around.
Hold it. Well, I'm sorry. For the record, Representative Thompson, you need to activate your mic, please, if you would. Okay, you're recognized. Go.
I'm not totally sure. It's around 2 dozen. It's not a lot of them, but
Chairman Bricken.
But this is specifically a Shelby County request?
it came from Shelby County government, but it affects other entities as well.
Okay, Chairman Bricken.
That's
Further
all.
questions? Okay, he has none. Do any further questions to the bill sponsor? All right, we have a question called, so I see no objections to the calling of the question. Therefore, let us vote on House Bill 456. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. And Representative Thompson, I see that you are headed to calendar and rules, sir.
Thank you, Chairman of the Committee.
Congratulations. Okay. Next, we have, let's move on to item number 2. That will be Representative Hakeem bringing to the podium House Bill number 720. And Representative Hakeem, I see we have a motion and a second. I see you have an amendment. Would you please give us the tracking code for that amendment number 1, please, sir?
All right. 4554.
That is correct. So tracking code is, so we have a motion and a second on the amendment. With that, we will pause and turn our attention to you, Representative Hakeem, for an explanation of the amendment, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. What this amendment does is afford the Secretary of State, well, what it says is the Secretary of State shall promulgate rules to regulate bingo. The rules must include limits on prizes, prohibitions on hiring entities to run the bingo games, requires that the bingo games be conducted by volunteers, and any other rules the secretary deems necessary to maintain safety and fairness. And I would also add, if I may, Mr. Chairman, that this is for 501c3s and charitable solicitation.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, you have heard an explanation of the bill. We will pause and turn our attention to Chairman Moon. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, currently, the current statute, even if the charity applies to the Secretary of State, bingo cannot be conducted.
Representative Akeem.
Okay, with current law,
The
that's
way
what
the
you.
current law is now,
Mhm.
each year under the Omnibus Act, we do annual fundraisers and they're presented and the Secretary of State approves them. All the members have received mailings of those activities that have been approved for this next year. My question is, can bingo be one of those?
To my I'm sorry.
You may proceed. Yes, sir. Go.
To my
Representative.
knowledge and understanding, that is not the case. And, but what this bill does is afford the Secretary of State the opportunity to set the rules and the guidelines going forward for that use. And as I said, my understanding, it would be once a year, and it would be for entities, nonprofit, and say.
All right,
Thank you, Mr.
Chairman Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All righty, thank you. Chairman Halford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman. I thought we already had events like this once a year that had to be requested of the Attorney General to be able to do that. Is that not right?
Representative Hakeem, can you, or would you want to defer that to our legal?
Please, if we could, sir.
Okay. All right, we'll go out of session and turn our attention to legal.
Thank you, Matt Money from Legal. The Constitution allows 501c3s and 501c19s to conduct one annual event that's approved by the General Assembly. The application process is set up by the Secretary of State, and there's definitions in the code. The type of lottery game is the definition that we're amending, but it expressly excludes bingo. So there's the games that you can play include things like raffles, reverse raffles, cakewalks, and cake wheels, but typical bingo and other types of gambling like Keno and table games and stuff like that is prohibited. So this
So it's
just a
for one time per year, is that right?
one time per year per entity.
Okay. All right, further questions? Yes, we do.
So tell me then.
Are we back in session, Chairman Halford? Or any further questions to legal? And we'll
No,
go back
thank
into
you for the-
session.
For the sponsor.
Okay, if you will. Before we do, are there any further questions to legal from committee? We do not. All right, let's go back. Let's return to session. Okay, Chairman Halford, you're up, sir.
So I'm looking at the caption here and it says it's annual event. So is that still just once a year or is this year round?
My understanding, the way this is structured is once a year, and this bill, it's been passed in the Senate. And I guess I'll use the term, Lieutenant Governor McNally, I use the term, he signed off on it, my understanding, but it's once a year, as I understand.
Chairman Halford, further questions?
I guess I'm finished. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all right. Okay, any further questions now to the sponsor? We're on the amendment. Remember, we are still on the amendment. Do I hear a call for the amendment? We do. I got one. All right, let's see no objections. So let us move to vote on amendment number 1, tracking code 4554. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. We are now, Representative Hakeem, we're now on your bill, House Bill 720. Do you have any closing remarks that you would like to make to the committee, sir?
Just ask
You-
it,
He
Just move.
says no. He's ready. He's ready. He's ready to go. That man is. All right. Any questions now from the committee? We're ready to vote, aren't we?
Yes,
I
sir.
see no objections to the calling of the question. Therefore, let's vote on House Bill 720. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. And so Representative Hakeem, congratulations. You are headed to Finance, Ways and Means, and good luck there, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
Okay. Let's, per the request of your member committee, I want to go out of order, please. And on your calendar, let's go to, at the request of Representative Carringer, she's got another commitment that she needs here. And so let's move to item number 8, House Bill 663. Representative Carringer, you are recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to my fellow committee members.
We do have a motion and a second. Proceed, please.
I bring to you from the State Comptroller's Office, House Bill 663, removal of an unnecessary requirement to approve Tri-Corps quarterly statements. The current law requires Tri-Corps to submit quarterly profit and loss statements to the Commissioner of Finance and Administration and the Comptroller of the Treasurer for approval. Submitting these statements to the Comptroller's Office for approval could create a conflict due to the statutory requirement that the office audit its entire entity. Removing the requirement that the statements be approved by the Comptroller's Office will eliminate any potential conflict.
Okay, very good. Good explanation. Any questions to the sponsor? We've got a call for the question. See no objections. Therefore, let us vote on House Bill 663. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. And where are we? Calendar and rules, Representative Carringer. All right, now we are back on item 3. And if I may have your attention, members, if we could please keep our conversations to a very minimum, please. I think it's a little bit distracting. I think for me anyway. So if you would please just, all right. Item number 3, that's Representative coming at us is Representative Sparks with House Bill 171. And we have a motion and a second, and we have an amendment here. Well, okay, as I understand it, we have this is traveling with your bill. Representative Sparks, would you give us the tracking code,
Yes,
please?
004335.
Okay. Okay, that's, okay, I've just been informed. I'm sorry. I was not aware that it was traveling with, it came out of pensions and insurance. My apology, Mr. Sponsor. So I will disregard then that. We're going to move right on to the bill. Then we don't have to adopt this amendment. Mr. Sponsor, go right ahead and explanation.
Well,
the
members,
bill.
we've got I'd say a crisis on our hands when it comes to corrections and retaining correctional officers. The local level, it's not as severe as it is at the state. My understanding, we're 800 officers down. I'll call it a crisis. Other states across the nation are suffering a crisis when it comes to recruiting and retaining correctional officers. I want to thank Chief Deputy Chris Fly of Rutherford County, who asked me to bring this up. What this bill does, Chairman and committee members, it allows a correctional officer to retire under the state retirement system upon 25 years of credible service. And I have someone here with the Sheriff's Association, Michael Agee, if you wish for him to testify.
If you would like for that, we'll honor that.
Okay.
We'll give him that's fine. If you would, we'll go out of session then, and please come right on up. We'll give you the routine. Mike, identify yourself. We'll give you, how about 4 minutes? Is that fair enough?
How about 38 seconds?
You got it. Go. Yes,
Mike
sir.
Agee, represent Tennessee Sheriff Association. Mr. Chairman and members, thank you. As Representative Sparks said, what this bill is going to do is, several years ago, you gave the 25-year option to our officers. A couple years ago, we added DOC, correctional officers. We added EMS. Our jailers got left out, and this puts them in that option. Section 2 of the bill, if the counties opt to go with the bridge program for those officers that are age limited, that have a mandatory retirement age, if those counties opt into that program, it would allow that for our jailers as well. So, but that would be totally optional, and this is just a small step in helping us be able to staff our jails, which we're having a hard time doing right now.
Okay,
So
good
with that, I'll answer
explanation.
any questions?
Yeah, of course, sit still until we see. I've got any questions, members, to Mr. Agee? I see none. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Agee. You may return to your seat, and now we'll back to our attention to you, Mr. Representative Sparks. Any closing final remarks, sir?
No, just, I know that everyone up here takes it seriously about the turnover rate with corrections. I've heard a lot of you talk about it. John Mark Wendell, who's been passionate about that. So just ask for your approval.
Okay, we got a question. I see no objections to the calling of the question. Therefore, let us vote. We're ready. Those in favor of House Bill 171, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign.
Thank
The
you,
ayes
Chairman.
have it.
Thank you, Committee.
And Representative Sparks, you are headed to Finance, Ways and Means. Congratulations, sir. We do have, let's move to, we're going to go back. We're going to have to run back out of order. Please send your attention to item number 14. That is House Bill 648. Chairman Faison, you are recognized, sir.
Thank
We
you.
have a motion and a second on the bill. We also have an amendment. We
Yes, sir.
do. And would you give us that tracking code, Chairman?
I have drafting code 5385, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, 5385. You're correct, sir. So, got a motion and a second on the amendment. Got a motion and a second on the amendment. We're going to let you explain.
Yes, sir.
Move.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman. Committee, very good to see y'all. Thank you for taking me
Good to
out
have
of
you
order.
with us, sir.
It's an honor.
Oh, my,
And I was
our
watching
honor.
online and got to see the
Absolutely.
history for today.
Yes, sir.
Members, for your indulgence today, there's a thing this is brought to us by the circuit court clerks, and we have a thing called original process papers. Original process papers are like warrants or subpoenas. What's happened now really strongly here in Nashville, and it's spread throughout Tennessee, as everything is going to digital. Your process papers are going to digital. It's not possible for the circuit court clerks to be digital and have the paper. So what we're doing is this is bringing them up to the 21st century and allowing them to be able to do this all digitized. And once everything is digitized, it will allow them to be able to dispose of the warrants and the subpoenas. And that's what this bill does.
Very good. Good explanation of the amendment. Any questions from the committee to Chairman Faison on the amendment?
And it's permissive if the county chooses to stay that way, but I don't think many will.
Very good. Got a question on the amendment? We do. I see no objections. So let us vote on amendment tracking code 5385. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. We now have amendment number 1 on the bill. Any closing remarks, Chairman Faison? None. We got a question called. So let us vote on House Bill 648 as amended. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. And you are, where are you?
Thank you.
headed? He is, yes, sir. You're headed to Finance, sir. And good luck on your meeting, by the way. Now, members, let us move back on the calendar to item number 4. And let me get organized here on my end. That is House Bill Representative Cochran, that's House Bill 1401. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
that's
sir.
correct.
He says yes. Do I have a motion? Got a motion and a second. All right. You're ready to go, sir. Would you explain?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. This one is it's kind of boring. It's a small fix to the current law where you can get mileage reimbursement. It's to ensure members who use an alternative means of transportation, specifically, there have been members in the past and some now who fly. You can still receive your road mileage reimbursement. You cannot be reimbursed more than that road mileage, but it just enables those folks who take an alternative means of transportation other than a car, you can still get your mileage reimbursement.
Okay, very good. That would also include trains, right? Just kidding.
I
of
believe it
course.
would.
Any questions to the sponsor? Got a question on the bill? Okay.
Thank you.
Pass. Chairman Moon passes. We have a question called. I see no objections to the calling of the question. Therefore, let us vote on House Bill 1401. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. And you, sir, are headed to calendar and rules, Representative Cochran.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
Thank you, sir. Moving right along, item number 5, House Bill 1488. Representative Towns, he is here. We already have a motion and a second even before he gets to the podium. Boy, I'm impressed.
Sounds like
You-
a setup to me.
Yeah. You're recognized, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members, thank you for the motion and the second. This bill simply deals with, having the ability as a law enforcement agency to make sure that their hirees have good moral and upstanding character. They find out about it and it's not the case, they can actually terminate and there will be no problem with lawsuits and things of that nature. We've found that in some of our law enforcement agencies, we've had gang members and others to infiltrate, and that's not a good idea.
Let me interrupt. I'm sorry, Representative Towns. This is House Bill 1488, sir.
Not 92?
No, sir. 1488.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's the other bill. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
That's fine.
One
Go-
is
That's
five.
fine.
Yeah.
You have our forgiveness.
Thank you.
Forgiveness. Go right ahead,
Yeah.
sir. Start again.
And
Well, wait a minute. We better get a motion and a second on.
yeah, please.
Huh? Well, okay. All right, go. I'm sorry. Go proceed, Representative.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, because there are two in here, and that bill actually is a bill that allows members and us to be able to purchase fair market value our used equipment that we've used, computers, et cetera. And that's essentially what that bill seeks to do.
Okay.
Once it's
good.
declassified, that's it.
All right. Any questions to Representative Towns? See none. I've got a call for the question. I see no objections. Let us vote on House Bill 1488. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. And you, sir, are headed to calendar and rules, Representative Towns. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Item number 6.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
May I, Mr. Chairman, so you can dispatch it me readily today. I have a second bill that I inadvertently explained first.
No, it's not. He's got another. Yeah. You know what? We'll take that out. Is that what that is what you're asking? Is that
Yes, sir,
correct?
if you don't mind, sir.
We can.
Since
Well,
I'm
of
here.
course, we'll honor that request. Let's
I
do.
really appreciate it.
Members, let's move to that'd be item number 25, House Bill 1492, again by Representative Townsend. We need a motion and a second. Do I hear one? We got a motion and a second, but we also have an amendment. Give us that tracking code, Representative Towns, please.
Chairman, what I have is 005802.
Bingo, you got it. Yes, sir. So you may proceed with an explanation of that amendment. Amendment, please, sir.
And Mr. Chairman,
I
with the
thought we
amendment,
had a motion and a second. Did we not? Give me a motion and a second. Okay, we got a motion and a second on amendment number 1. Please proceed, sir.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. And I was inadvertently explaining that bill earlier. And thanks to the Department of Safety and some of the others that have helped to work on it, that amendment actually tightens the bill up and make the bill, I think, a lot better. It's specified in there, which is something we should have done some time ago. It's dealing with making sure that we include gangs, which is the reason that I brought the bill, being able not to participate in our law enforcement, as well as it defines the fact of what considered a hate group is. And essentially, that's what the amendment does. Those two things were added, which actually strengthen and tightens the bill up, I think.
All right, on the amendment, and we're still on the amendment, members. Yes, we do. We have Chairman Hulsey. You have, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And sponsor, I don't have a copy of the amendment. That was going to be one of my concerns. If you say the amendment explains what a hate group is.
Yes, sir. I can read it, sir.
The Southern Poverty Law Institute classifies a whole lot of groups as a hate group. If an officer belonged to the Tea Party and the Southern Poverty Institute or whatever calls them a hate group, does that give a city a right to fire an officer?
Representative Towns.
No, sir. I would think not. And if I may, I can read what we have here, because you're right. I mean, anybody get mad, they can be all over the place, and that's not what we want. But we don't want law enforcement to be well. If you are an administrator or manager in law enforcement, you find out you have some people that are doing things that are wrong. You want to be able to get rid of them quickly. But it says, as hate group means an organization whose primary purpose is to promote animosity, hostility, and malice among a person or persons, or against the property of a person or persons because of their religion, their race, their ethnicity, disability, or national origin. And that's what it says. So no, those would be what you gave, in my opinion, would be just, political groups. We all have those, and civic groups. No, so no, sir, that should not apply.
Chairman Hulsey.
For the record.
One more thing.
Yes, of course, you're recognized.
I assume that we're leaving this up to municipalities and sheriff's departments to decide if there is a process for a grievance against this. I guess this would have to dovetail with whatever department HR controls that. Is that right?
Representative Towns.
Absolutely. Our hands at this point gives them the ability in trying to protect them from having lawsuits, but after that, it's up to them. Exactly. And I appreciate that.
Chairman Hulsey.
Clarity.
Follow up? Okay. Further questions to the sponsor on the amendment? On the amendment. We're still on the amendment. Okay. We got a question called, have we not? We did. We do. I see no objections. So we are voting on the amendment. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. The amendment goes on, and now we are back. We're back on the bill as amended. Any closing comments, Representative Towns?
The chairman actually, no, the amendment makes the bill for the most part, and I just appreciate your indulgence.
Okay, sure. Yes, Chairman Halford, you're recognized.
I was just wondering, this says a member of a hate group or terrorist organization. I mean, I didn't know these guys had membership, I thought, and who is to say that they're a member of that group or not?
Representative Towns?
Well, when you say membership like that, card carrying membership, you probably not going to find that. That's if I'm involved in a gang, you're probably not going to find me with a card carrying membership as a gang member.
Can you take your mask off?
Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is that if I'm a member of a gang, you're probably not going to find me with a card in my pocket saying I'm a member of, the Los Suedos or the XYZ gang. But, when the department has done research and they see that I'm affiliated with this group, that makes me a member. But where I've registered and signed up, you're probably not going to find that. I doubt that very seriously.
But so somebody could say, Curtis Halford is a member of so-and-so gang. Does that make me be a member of that gang?
Representative Towns.
Well, first off, they're not going to say that about you. Okay.
Thank you, Joe.
Second thing is this: you need more than just conversation. The department, obviously, as it was already alluded to, would do their research. You got to do your research and decide. After you've done your research, law enforcement is very good at this, finding out, who's with who and who's not. But, you don't want, obviously, someone to just be able to say something about you negative and not being vetted. That's not what we're trying to do.
So the actual language in the bill, which I don't have here before me, says that somebody has to investigate this allegation that I might be a part of a gang or something like that. Is that right?
Representative Towns?
As we talked about just a moment ago, is that's what your department will do. You got to, as a member that's working for a department for X number of years, your department has a process in place to go and determine whether or not. And I'm sure I have confidence in law enforcement. They're going to be thorough and they're going to try to be fair. They're not just going to take anybody's word. You know, these organizations are very close. Not only that, though, we want them to be clean. And I can tell you for a fact, and you can look up some of this stuff. It's more of a problem than we want to really talk about. It really is. You know, the infiltration of, it was brought to my attention because of gangs. They've gotten in and they found them committing crimes after the fact and so forth and so on.
Chairman Halford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, you're very welcome. Speaker Marsh, you're recognized,
Thank
sir.
you, Mr. Chairman. In the amendment part that I'm looking at, it says specifying that past or present membership. What if you had a teenager that might have been in a gang and maybe later on went to the military and became a great upstanding person? If they found that out, would they have to let them go?
Representative Towns.
Mr. Chairman, when you're talking about something that when you're kids, 18 and down, we do a lot of little silly stuff. Under this, that's not applicable. They should not be reaching back, looking at something you did when you're 14, 15, 16 years old. No, this does not address that.
Speaker Marsh.
Thank you for that. Good question.
Further question. Yes, we do. Chairman Brickett, you're recognized.
I'm really not certain about this legislation. It seems like a slippery slope here. Now, who is actually going to be monitoring this and enforcing a local or a law enforcement agency to decide whether they should take disciplinary action against a member of their force or not?
Representative Towns.
That's an excellent question, I think, as well. Who would do the monitoring? It's going to be if I worked for the Nashville Police Department or the Memphis Police Department or the Sheriff Department, it would have to be them. They're doing the hiring, of these people. So if I got hired and I didn't disclose or it wasn't found out that I was a member of some, unscrupulous organization that was committing crime and doing all kind of crazy stuff, they hired me and I stayed in there for 2 or 3 years and then they found it out. They're going to be the ones that are going to have to do it. It's no one else's job to do it. And they found out one of their members, like you find out sometimes we have people that are on the force, they're crooked. They do things they ought not do. Okay. So it's up to them. It's not up to us. It's up to the department, as was disclosed by people who have been in law enforcement. They will have to do it. We'll be nowhere, close to it. We can't do it. It's not our job. Don't want us to.
Chairman Brickett.
Thank you.
Chairman Brickett. Okay, says, okay, Representative Alexander, you're recognized.
Sponsor, I'm just really concerned about this bill because I can see, and it goes back to what Chairman Marsh said, that if, let's just say we had a kid in Memphis that got into a gang when he was 16 or 18, but then he went off to military and his life changed and he was on the force, as a tremendous upstanding officer for 10 years. But somebody got mad at him and they went in and found out in his past he had been a member of a gang. I mean, think about how many times we use thieves that have been past thieves to be the ones that catch other thieves because they know how it works. I think that would be very scary to me because we have to have a time. There are second chances in life and we all need second chances. And sometimes just that word past scares me to death, sir.
Representative Towns.
Well, as I share it with you, and I agree, look at me, you're talking about second chances. Okay. Some of us need more than that sometime in life. Right. Okay. And I am a believer in obviously forgiveness. You don't want my story to tell you my story about chances. Okay. Real important, real critical. However, this does not deal with young people that, as I shared earlier, that are a certain age and they make mistakes, However, I think what we have to also err on is the side of making sure that one of our critical tenets in this country is law enforcement. All of us need to respect law enforcement. It's very critical. Because if you don't, you just simply have a breakdown. You have chaos. We must be able, we must hold them in high esteem. We must feel that the people that have say and sway over us, even to death, is credible at all times, okay? And what this simply does is simple, is that now you should not, as a law enforcement director, have to experience lawsuits because you found something to discover something of someone that had something that really was dangerous in their character before you get rid of them and something has to happen. You know, it doesn't stop anybody from participating. It doesn't stop anybody from having made mistakes when you're young and get an opportunity, okay? But what it's trying to do is to give whoever's the head of a law enforcement agency the ability to protect that department, the credibility of that department, protect, you know, the image of that department. And I think it's real important that we do just that, not to penalize any young person that wanted to be in law enforcement. At some point, a lot of young kids, they want to be police officers. They want to be detectives. I mean, that's something they grow up to, want to be. And I think that's admirable. But in the real world, you, me, and people that are here need to be able to hold them in high esteem. And we don't need to tie our directors' hands or our people that are older, these guys and gals. And I don't know if you ever had these presentations where you see the police officer come and they show you what's going on. I've sat down with them. They show you some stuff that, as I said, I don't want to just get into, but it's a lot going on in some of these major cities and some of these cities. And these people they shouldn't be officers. They should not be officers.
Representative Alexander. Follow up?
Yes, sir. Is there something in this bill that says it won't go past a certain age?
Okay. I'm sorry.
Is it-
Representative Towns?
Excuse me. Is there something in this bill that will say that it won't go past a certain age? You know, for the word past,
Okay.
is there a certain cutoff?
And I hear that narrative coming up, and I would be more than happy to add that, to add the security that, you know, seem like members want. And that makes me feel better as well, to have that.
Representative Alexander. Follow up?
I guess it's up to the committee, sir.
Oh, is it that concludes your questioning? Okay.
Yes, sir.
We're Chair Lady Littleton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could we go out of session and let legal define some of the hate groups that would be included in this amendment, please, or this bill?
I'm sorry. Hold up just a second. My analyst was talking to me, so I apologize to you, Chair Lady Littleton. What were you saying?
Could
What
we
was the
go out of
question?
session and ask?
Of course we can. Absolutely. If there's no objections, we will go out of session and legal, if you would, please.
Thank you, Matt Money from Legal. The bill simply states what the definition of a hate group is. It also includes terrorist organizations and gangs, and that determination is made by the employing agency. So I don't think that there's any particular
If it's not right,
groups that are specified. I think it'd be up to the employing agency to, they could look at lists compiled by different organizations, and they might be aware of groups that fit into that definition that aren't compiled by any organization.
Chair Lady Littleton.
So it would be up to the municipalities to decide who's the hate group and who's isn't, or?
Legal.
Matt Money for the record, I think it'd be up to the law enforcement agency.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So as we go down the list, we're going to take it in order. Representative Powell, you're well, that's right. Hold it. I got to get back in session. So further questions to legal? Yes, we do. Chairman, I apologize, Chairman Hull. You may proceed, sir. You're recognized.
Thank you, legal. The left has called me a Christian nationalist and has labeled that as a terrorist organization. Under this bill, would that apply to me if I were a police officer?
Thank you, Matt Money for the record from Legal. No law enforcement agency would have to accept that designation from any group about you or any other member of this body or any person applying to a law enforcement agency for employment.
Chairman Hulsey. You got it? Okay. Further questions to legal while we have him? Yes, we do. Representative Cooper, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was wondering if legal could tell me whether included in the law, is there anything in there that references employees who doing a great job and has already done a great job? There's no indication of any terrorists or anything in their background, and they're doing well to be considered.
Legal?
You know, I can't speak specifically to a statute, but I'm sure as part of the background checks and that they do for law enforcement officers that they want to employ, that they do a criminal background check that's going to catch a lot of this activity, perhaps gang-related activity. If the person applying for jobs been arrested and they've associated them with members of a gang, you know, but I think that they probably have quite a bit of guardrails in place to make sure that they, you know, capture a lot of the types of character issues that you're looking for in law enforcement agencies already. But I can't speak to those specifically in statute.
Representative Cooper, follow-up question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, sometimes people do carry rumors, and sometimes maybe you have been involved in something, a friendship, have a good friendship with someone who's doing some illegal things. Would that be considered, and I'm trying to clarify in the law, that person, and I think it's been mentioned earlier, that just someone telling your authorities that you're in a gang or you beat your domestic violence or something, you just don't go by somebody's word, you do your research. And if a person, as I said before, is doing an excellent job and it's something that came up in the background later on, would you consider something that has happened earlier in their life, but not since they have been on the job, making it clear that they have done an excellent job and that administration would not consider any kind of rumors or something that hadn't been researched, or they have some evidence, clear evidence, that they are participating presently as they work in that department or work for that company or the police department, whomever, that there is no sign of any kind of misbehavior. And I was just trying to see if that was considered in the law, of anything. Do you have anything in the statute? And that may be something that could be considered.
Okay, that is, I think, a form of a question. If I understood that correctly, that is a question to legal, Representative Cooper?
I just want to see what's in the law.
Or is that, I didn't know if that was a statement or if a question to
No,
the,
I'm trying to see if there was anything in the law, because we do have amendments sometimes. And I just thought maybe that may be an amended part of the law, the code.
I think
Mr. Mundy, would
Sure.
you?
Thank you, Matt Mundy, for the record. I think the best answer to your question is within the text of the amendment, which says that you have to be a member of one of these gangs, groups, or organizations. And I don't think that term in its literal sense would capture loose associations, rumors, or friendships with someone who might be a member of a gang or a hate group or a terrorist organization. So I think that would probably satisfy your concern, at least in that respect.
Representative Cooper, follow up?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're very welcome. Okay, we're still out of session now to legal. Any further questions to legal? Okay, I see none. No objections. We're going to go back into session. Let me see. On our list is Representative Powell. You are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is a good bill. It's getting at some good things, but I think maybe a couple things we can tweak. I think Representative Alexander actually brought up a good point about former membership. So if we could, I would just say let's roll this 1 week if we could, and if the sponsor's okay with that, and then try to bring back an amendment.
You're okay. So now we turn our attention to you, Representative Towns. How do you say, sir?
Well, obviously, Mr. Chairman, and members always say, what the majority of the body wants to do. And I think also there's some good stuff that's been brought out as it relates to the bill. And I think that, we can draft an amendment to address some of the things we talked about, because no way do we want to infer that, somebody's deemed because of their past. And we can draft an amendment to tighten it up. It may be two amendments that come out or one that comes out. So yes, I'm receptive to that. But in parting, I'd like to make the point also that if you're hired as an officer, sometimes some of these guys, they're hired as an officer, record is clean, then they get affiliated with these groups after they're hired as police officers. So I would like to, Mr. Chairman, take that role. I'll take that role.
The sponsor has requested a roll. Any objections to you, committee? I see none. Your role is granted, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
Okay, let's for the at the request of Chairman. Yeah, we're on 10. I'm sorry. I'm on 12. I'm looking at item 12. Let's turn our attention to item number 10, members. And Chairman Curcio has got a commitment that he has to make. So let's bring him forward to the podium on House Bill 1436. Chairman Curcio, you're recognized, sir.
Thank
We have
you.
a motion and a second, and we've got a couple of amendments. You want to talk about what we do here, Chairman? Here
Yes.
on, we need to get both of these adopted?
No, sir. With your indulgence, I would like to move amendment coded 6029.
That's the one you want to move?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's listed as, amendment number 2, again, tracking code 6029. Let's get us a motion and a second. We do. We have a motion and a second. That's good. Now, we're going to turn to you, Chairman Curcio, for an explanation of the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. I've been told to lead with this in other committees, so I will do so here. This is a bill that passed the House last year. So we'd start with that. But what it deals with is redistricting challenges. So we've got redistricting coming up, and the Supreme Court, the federal level, has opined that challenges to redrawing districts, redistricting challenges, are under the purview of the states, not the federal government. So they've put us on notice to say, hey, we're about to redistrict. If anybody challenges a line that you draw, be fair warned, the state's got to deal with that, not the federal government. This bill seeks to get ahead of that process. Of course, we know we're going to draw fair lines. I don't anticipate we're going to be in any lawsuit, but in the event that we are, we've got to have a venue for those cases to be brought. So this bill would create a 3-judge panel. So wherever the suit is filed, the presiding judge would notify the Supreme Court. They would pick 2 trial court judges from the other grand divisions, so that once you've got 3, there'll be one from each grand division. They'll hear that redistricting challenge. Some language we've added into the bill would say that if a court finds that the lines were in fact invalid, it gives the legislature an opportunity to redraw it so that the judge does not redraw it. So it says in a time period not less than 15 days, the court shall ask the General Assembly to make a change. That's what the bill does, and be happy to take any questions.
Okay, well, now we're still on the amendment, members. We got to get that amendment. Okay, we're still on the amendment. Further questions to sponsor? Yes, we do. Our host legislator, Representative Beck, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm thrilled to be the host legislator. In your amendment, it says that it deletes the language establishing statute of limitations for cause of challenging redistricting. What are you doing there, and what are you making the new statute of limitations?
Chairman Curcio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And can you draw my attention to where that is in the amendment?
It is, the page I'm looking at is 4 lines down. I know I'm looking at paper and you're looking at the your iPad. So,
All right, we're going to allow Representative Beck to take a walk.
Yes, sorry, thank you. That's so in the notes from legal there. So it's not,
Okay, now.
Yep, thank you.
Now, Chairman Curcio, for the record, would you go ahead and explain just
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Representative Beck's question, please?
I believe our host legislator was reading from the notes from legal.
Oh.
Not from a section of the bill. So I would defer to legal if they want to care to explain that research?
Do you,
and-
well, let me take my attention back to Representative Beckett. Do you concur, sir?
Yes, I
With
concur.
sponsor.
Thank you.
Okay. So, am I hearing a request that we need to draw our attention to, go out of session to legal then at the moment? Okay, if there's no objection, we will go out of session and we'll, give our attention to Mr. Monday.
Can you all continue talking? Sure. And I'll come back to you. Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Chairman.
We remain out of session, ladies and gentlemen. I'm awaiting Mr. Monday to get freed up here where I can have a quick, brief discussion with him. Please bear with me. All right. So, we're going to, if there's no objections, we will go back into session. To you, Representative Beck, you are requesting attention over there. So we're going to recognize you, sir.
Thank you. We can go back in session.
We are.
We'll come back to that. I don't think it's a deal breaker for putting the amendment on.
Well, now we are on the amendment. We're still on the amendment now.
Right. I'm good.
You're good.
Right.
Okay. Question, again, while we're on the amendment, questions to the sponsor on the amendment? Yes, we do. Speaker Marsh, you're recognized.
When you say it'll come back to the legislature, who and how will that process work?
Chairman Curcio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for that question because it's a key part of this legislation. So in 2942-102, we're saying a court shall not impose a substitute for a plan enacted by the General Assembly apportioning or redistricting a state legislative or congressional districts under this chapter unless the court first gives the General Assembly a period of time to remedy any defects identified by the court in the court's finding of facts and conclusion of law. The period of time must not be less than 15 calendar days from the issuance of the court's finding of fact and conclusions of law. And in settling this period of time, in setting this period of time, the court shall consider whether the General Assembly is currently in session or out of session. So the point of that, oh, and by the way, if the General Assembly does not enact a new plan within the period of time set by the court, then the court may impose an interim districting plan for use only in the next election cycle. So the point of that is to put the legislature on notice that, hey, you drew a district, didn't mean to, but you drew a district that violates the law, and we're going to give you a second bite at the apple to fix it, rather than having a court draw a legislative district, as has happened in some other states, which is clearly not in line with the way that process is supposed to work. The legislature is supposed to control that process, not a judge.
Speaker Marsh, further questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir,
Thank you, Mr.
please.
Chairman. So, but what happens when it comes back to the legislature? Do we file an amendment, a bill to correct that, or do we have a group that meets that comes up with a correction?
Chairman Curcio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the bill is silent to the specific process. It just puts it back in the legislature's court. But the idea would be we would only be amending that one district, just correcting the deficit there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Good explanation. Speaker Marsh says he has concluded his line of question. Other questions? Now, again, we got a question on the amendment. Have a second. I see no objections to the calling of the question. Let's vote on the amendment. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. And we now have Amendment 2. Amendment 2. For the record, with tracking code 6029 on the bill. For concluding remarks, Chairman Curcio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your indulgence. That amendment did make the bill, and I renew my motion.
All right, Representative Powell, you're recognized.
So I have a question of process. So obviously, if you start redrawing districts, there's a domino effect because it not just affects one district, it affects multiple districts. So is there any sort of limit into what districts then can be redrawn? Or is it confined to a county? I mean, say in Nashville, you've got multiple districts within Davidson County. Would you just be drawing those districts within Davidson County? Are those an error? Or could, I'd just hate to run into a situation where we have a domino effect and literally every single district could be redrawn.
Chairman Curcio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you. That's an excellent question. But no, this would say that we're here just to take action on any deficits identified by the court in the court's findings of facts and conclusions of law. So, for example, there are federal laws that we don't want to run afoul of that say you can't split up there's a preference to keeping counties together, for example. You don't want to split up majority minority districts or precincts, those sorts of things. So we would only be dealing with the deficits that were specifically addressed in that court's order. So while, yes, it may involve more than one district, certainly conceptually it could, it's not to create this mission creep where you redraw the whole line. It specifically says in the bill that you're addressing the deficiencies outlined in the court's order and the findings of fact.
Representative Powell, follow up.
And just one other follow-up, and it was, I guess, a follow-up to Beck's question about timing. I know, sometimes these can be litigated, and, we had a situation, obviously, that went all the way to the Supreme Court in this most recent redistricting battle, I think in North Carolina and other states, they got involved. Does any way that amendment with that limitation impact that? Or does this make it open-ended to, if we take 6 years, we can still go back and redraw the districts?
Chairman Curcio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So again, it's just an action filed in a court of this state challenging the validity of an act of the General Assembly apportioning or redistricting. So, presumably as soon as those lines are drawn, anybody who has a legitimate case moving forward, they're going to act on that pretty quickly because we're going to have an election within a year of us redrawing those lines. And because the census date is delayed, it's really going to be pretty quick.
Okay, Representative Powell.
That's it.
Powell. Representative Powell says that's enough. So we're going to, before we're going to defer our attention to legal here in just a moment. But prior to that, Representative Beck, you're recognized.
Thank you. And exactly what's the procedure now for contesting the lines and redistricting? And what exactly are you trying to fix other than the court not drawing the line and it being referred back to the legislature?
Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excellent question. Again, this is in direct response to the federal Supreme Court decision or opinion that says any redistricting challenges that are not civil rights challenges, that's totally different. But redistricting challenges challenging the way the lines were drawn must be punted back to the states for the states to deal with them. Right now, we have not entertained a way to deal with that because redistricting hasn't happened yet. So we're trying to get ahead of that.
Representative Beck.
And in the past, how have they been dealt with?
Chairman.
I can't speak to that specifically. Luckily, Tennessee has never been sued over a line, and I hope we continue that streak. or I say never been sued. We certainly haven't been sued in recent history. So we hope to continue that streak. I hope this bill's never needed. I think we do a good job following the law and adhering to the federal statutes, but this would set up a new process in the event we needed it.
Follow up, Representative Beck.
Yes, and finally, it seems to me that if a line was declared not to be a valid line and it was punted back to the legislature, that we would obviously be in a position to be in a special session. Is that what you
Chairman.
foresee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the bill sort of speaks to that. It says a time period not less than 15 days, but that the court shall take into consideration whether or not the General Assembly is in session. So they could say, okay, well, the legislature is coming back into session naturally in another 3 months. So you've got 5 months to fix it. Or we could be in session and they could say, you need to take action in 20 days or we're going to get our pen out here in the judiciary. So it gives them that flexibility.
Representative Beck?
Very good.
Good. Okay. Legal is ready to assist us. We're going to, if there's no objections, we're going to go back out of session and turn our attention to Mr. Mundy. Mr. Mundy, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you for the time and indulgence. So Matt Mundy for the record. Going back to the statute of limitations question, that was in the original draft. There was a 1-year statute of limitations that was stripped out of this subsequent amendment. And so that summary was outdated, at least that language was outdated. And so now the process of the amendment, which you guys have been discussing, I believe is as much as I could hear while I was looking at it, is the process is that if there is a lawsuit, let me back up a little bit. There's a statutory process that requires the legislature to draw the boundaries of the districts in compliance with the Voting Rights Act and the 14th and 15th Amendment of the United States Constitution. If there's a challenge to that, and then they enact a statute or by resolution or by bill, they put all the districts that are actually listed in the Tennessee Code. It's in 31102 is the Senate and 31103 is the House of Representatives. And if someone feels that the Voting Rights Act has been violated or that we didn't comply with the Constitution, that there would be a lawsuit under this legislation. After that lawsuit is what triggers the creation of the 3-judge panel. And then eventually you can work your way up to the Supreme Court of Tennessee, which has some time frames depending on when the General Assembly is in session or out of session. And they set that time frame to give the legislature a chance to remedy any issues with their redistricting plan. And if they're not satisfied with that, then the Tennessee Supreme Court can draw the plan.
Questions to legal, to Mr. Mundy? Follow-up questions to Mr. Mundy? I see none, and I say if there's no objection, we're going to go back into session. With that, yes, we do. Chairman Jernigan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman Curcio. I think we have been sued in the past quite a bit. I think Chairman Wendell could probably tell me he's been through 3 redistricting since he's been here. But, and I think we've won them in the past and they just go to court. But I also want to follow up just when I mentioned in subcommittee, and just to reiterate that I think that there's no fiscal note on this. And so I don't understand if we're going to take these judges from the appellate courts and bring them, are they bringing staff with them? And if they are bringing staff with them, are we just holding up the appellate courts and the cases in those areas? And I guess that's still my question of how is this being paid for?
Chairman, address that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All I can tell you is that fiscal review estimated is not significant.
Okay. All right. Further questions, Chairman Jernigan? None? Okay. Further questions in from the panel, from our district, from our committee. We've got a motion and a second on the bill as amended. Got a call for the question, and I see no objections. So therefore, let us vote on House Bill 1436 as amended. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, like on the ayes. The ayes have it, and House Bill 1436 passes and moves on to Finance, Ways, and Means. Whoop. Calendar and rules. I'm sorry. That's right. Calendar and rules if Amendment 2. Yes. Yes, sir. You're recognized, Speaker Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Representative Griffey has a group of students here from Stewart County High School, and I know they're going to be departing shortly. I think he was going to recognize them when he got up here, but would you stand up if you're with Stewart
Yes.
County High School?
Good. Thank you. Thank you for being with us.
And their teacher and advisor, Kyle Mallory, in the back. Welcome.
All right.
And
Okay, Chairman
thank-
Curcio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee for that. And I was supposed to mention them as well, and then we got deep into the weeds on my research notes, so I apologize. But thank you for doing that.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Item number 6, I think maybe I've already announced that. Well, it is, it's number 6, House Bill 700 has been taken off notice. We're now on to item number 7. Chairman Carr, you are recognized on House Bill 853. And do I hear a motion and a second? Here, we got it. We've got a motion and a second. We have an amendment.
Yes, sir.
Chairman Carr, would you give us that tracking code, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I was thinking 4520.
That is absolutely right on. You're recognized. I got a motion and a second here on the amendment. We did hear a motion and a second on the amendment. Got a motion and a second on the amendment. Chairman Carr, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The amendment does make the bill. What this amendment does is it lets the comptroller extend the timeout that we might be able to get all of our figures down from the federal government. And because of that, we want to, if we do not get our figures down from the federal government by the deadline of in September, the current law contains that we must have the filings done by January the 1st, 2022 deadline for local governments to change their boundaries. This has to do with redistricting, and this all just extends it from if we get our Bureau of Census delayed past September of 2021, it gives us a deadline of January the 1, 2022 to get ready to make our new redistricting.
Very good. You heard an explanation, committee, of the amendment. Any questions? To the sponsor, we got a call for the question, and I see no objections. Let's vote on amendment number 1, tracking code 4520. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. And now we have amendment number 1 on the bill. Closing remarks, Chairman Carr. Got
Thank
a
you, Mr. Chairman.
question?
That makes the bill. I renew my motion.
Okay, got you. We got a call for the question. Those in favor now, let's vote on House Bill 853 as amended. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Well, the ayes have it, and you're going to move on to calendar and rules. Chairman Carr.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman of the Committee.
Representative Wendell, you're recognized, sir.
Mr. Chairman, please, Representative T.L. Weaver has requested that we recognize Natasha and Hagen Wagner, who are with us from DeKalb County. Please stand up.
Well, let's recognize them.
And they are specifically from Liberty, Tennessee, appropriately named.
Liberty, all right. Great to have you all with us.
Thank you, Terry Lynn Weaver.
Thank you, TL. And thank you, Chairman Wendell. Item number 9, Chairman Johnson, you are bringing to us House Bill 347.
Thank you,
You're recognized, sir. Got a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You could go right ahead, please, sir.
House Bill 347, as introduced, makes confidential certain personal, financial, and residential information of federal law enforcement agencies and officers conducting operations within our state. Several years ago, we did this for state and local law enforcement agents, and this just includes federal agents.
All right, good. Good explanation. Any questions to Speaker Johnson? Hear a call for the question? Yes, I heard a call for the question. I see no objections. Those in favor of House Bill 347, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. And Speaker, you're moving on to Gov Ops. And we have committee, we have already addressed item number 10. It is my honor to introduce and bring forward to the podium Chairman Zachary with House Bill 197. That is item number 11 on your calendar. And I want to note, Chairman Zachary, if you would, I'll note to the committee that it is 13 minutes until the hour. So my hope is that we won't get sidetracked here with a lot. We need to stay on. So many of us have to move on to committee. So
Yes, sir.
with that, now let's see. Do we have? Wow, we do. We have. Let's get a Did I get a motion? Motion and a second. And Chairman, you got a amendment here, do you not? Would
I
you give
do.
us
Yes, sir, Mr.
that
Chairman.
tracking code, please?
5640.
That's correct. Do we have a motion and a second on? Okay, we do. And Chairman Zachary, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I will be brief. I had a 30-minute presentation, but I'll cut that down to about 30 seconds. This
You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, sir. I've joined Speaker Hale on his mission to address some of the abuse to open records requests. Many of us in our districts have one or two people that abuse the system by requesting incredible amounts of records, and then they simply review, never take ownership, so they never have to pay for the significant burden they place on government. Sumner County had a case recently where a gentleman requested over 30,000 pieces of paper. They have had such abuse in Sumner County, they have had to create a separate office, hire someone to man that office just to handle open records requests from two individuals. So this piece of legislation simply says that if someone makes 5 requests of an abusive nature, the record custodian has the ability to appeal to a judge regarding those requests. The person can continue to make requests, but if the judge finds it's abuse of the Open Records Act, then the person would be responsible for paying for all the materials that had to be used by government for that. Senator Hale worked with ACOG, all the parties involved. Everyone is good with this legislation. And with that, I would request passage.
Well, it's a good explanation. Any questions to the sponsor? I hear a call for the question. I got it. So no objections I don't see any objections to the calling of the question. So now that's right. We're on the amendment. I apologize. We're on the amendment. So got a call for the question on the amendment. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. The amendment passes. It is now on to it is now as amended, House Bill 197. Any closing or concluding remarks, Chairman Zachary?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
He says none, and we got a call for the question. All right. See no objections. Those in favor of House Bill 197 as amended, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. And you, Chairman Zachary, you're headed to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Well, she's moved on. Williams is here. Item number 12, of course, is you all already know, members, that's been rolled to the final calendar. Chair Lady Hazelwood had to move on. She had another commitment. Of course, we've already addressed item number 14. Item 15, of course, has been rolled 1 week. That brings us to item number 16, and with 9 minutes remaining, I do not see Representative Williams. I'm sorry, Williams. Okay. We've got, yeah. No, he is. He's not. He isn't here. Okay, time is of the essence here. We've got so many that's already committed to the 3 o'clock. If there's no, do we? Well, let's. Okay, let's turn our attention, members, to item number 24. And Representative Lynn, you are.
Motion.
Got a motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, very
On
much.
House Bill 432. Do we have an amendment? I'm trying to wiggle through my way through all this here. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute, Representative Lynn. All right. Okay. House Bill 432. Representative Lynn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In July
Got a
of-
motion and a second. Proceed, please.
Thank you. In July of 2020, Representative Jernigan contacted me and asked if I'd be willing to provide relief to his constituent, Mr. Mason Hunter, who's here with us today, to bring Mr. Hunter's parcel fully into Wilson County. I learned that Mr. Hunter's property is bisected by Davidson and Wilson County line, and most of his home is in Davidson County, but his driveway is in Wilson County. And in fact, 75% of his land for this lot is in Wilson County. As a result, his family pays 2 property tax bills for their one home, one to Wilson County and one to Davidson County. However, his children have attended Wilson County schools. They have Wilson County water. Their cars are registered in Wilson County. And the family attends church in Wilson County. And his children play sports in Wilson County. So as a result, before we filed this bill, we spoke to the Davidson County Metro Councilman and Wilson County Commissioner to see if they'd be willing to provide relief to this homeowner by bringing his parcel fully into Wilson County. And each was willing. And in July 2020, the 40-member Metro Council in Davidson County voted unanimously to ask Wilson County to take this tiny parcel fully into Wilson County and send the lawmakers notice of their request. And on August 10th, 2020, the 25-member Wilson County Commission voted unanimously to accept the parcel and give notice to the lawmakers of their vote and ask us to file a bill to amend the county lines to include Mr. Hunter's parcel fully in Wilson County. Mr. Hunter is here if there are any questions, but I do want to say that this bill in no way creates an island with other parcels in the area, because there is core land behind Mr. Hunter's parcel, which fully connects them into Davidson County. This would just be putting Mr. Hunter's parcel fully into Wilson County instead of having it be split. So with that
All
explanation.
right, you've heard an explanation of House Bill 432. Questions to the sponsor? We do. Chairman Jernigan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have a question as much as that as you heard, Mr. Hunter does everything in Wilson County. It's the only thing he does in Davidson County is hopefully vote for me. But that's
He said
not
he
for much
does.
longer. But I will tell you this. We started this process 10 months ago, and we did the local, state level. We followed the process that's in code. We did so in good faith. And we're just trying to give this man some legislative relief. So I'd appreciate your support on it.
I've got a question on the bill, but okay. I see no objections to the calling of the question. We're ready to vote. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. And you are headed, where are you headed? To where? Finance. You're headed to finance. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr.
Representative
Chairman.
Lynn. All right, it is, we're going to have to close. I need someone to make a motion. We've got a motion and I need a second to adjourn. Let me, before I lower the gavel, those bills that are remaining on this calendar, of course, will be rolled to next week's calendar. We are adjourned, ladies and gentlemen.